Welcome back. Globally, things are looking calm and things are looking stable. Asia is trading with a positive bias. Things are not looking all that charged up, but the good news here is that after 3 days of smart appreciation, there is no clear trend reversal. What I worry about is the dollar index. If the global mood is risk on, it's hard to really explain the current underlying strength in the dollar index. Typically, when risk is back, dollar index always comes down. SGX, look at SGX 5908. 3 days ago, who would have thought that Nifty or SGX would go anywhere close to 5900? So how should one dissect this week's price action? And for Indian markets, has the storm really come and gone? Let's discuss that with Manish Sonthalia, Vice President and Fund Manager with Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Manish, good to have you back. Thank you for joining us. Manish, my introduction, I guess, was the question in itself. Has the storm for Indian markets come and gone?
I don't really think so, Nikunj, because the whole problem is the currency, and current account deficit is the main issue, and you have the next set of current account data coming on 31st of March, and before that we have the RBI rate cut policy meet on 19th. So I think these are two major events that the markets would be watching out for very closely. Yes, you had a knee-jerk reaction on the downside where you had a carnage in the mid-cap stocks, etc. But there is a global risk on trade, so Indian markets have pulled back. But to say that we may have seen the worst looks like a bit premature. Markets can rally up to 6,000 odd levels, but I think follow-on buying needs to be seen only if we see a rate cut and somewhat favorable current account data coming out on 31st of March.
But for that uptick, Manish, do you think it's imperative that the RBI eases rates this very month?
I think, it is the theme of the currency. So export-oriented sectors would keep the markets buoyant. So, you'll have the likes of the ITs and farmers of the world and consumers somewhere in between, which will keep the markets held out. But, markets are totally polarized. On the one hand, you have the IT farmers and consumer names selectively. And on the other hand, you have the metals and infra stocks, which are absolutely battered and shattered. So I think, it is the theme of the currency, and, markets will keep balanced out, with buying on one hand and selling on the other hand. So, but if there was a rate cut on 19th, you would have some uptick in some of the interest rate sensitives per se.
Manish, it is so interesting that how sentiment has taken a complete U-turn. Suddenly all the proponents of the hope trade, they are running for cover, and markets are only focusing on the bad macro.
No, I don't think that macros are that bad, but you can't really predict how the macros would shape up given the problem of the current account deficit that we have. And we know for a fact that current account deficit problem cannot be fixed in the short term. And the budget actually did not highlight anything to do with reduction in imports of gold, or there is even a doubt whether diesel price hikes can continue beyond the next 2-3 more rounds. So all that is going to put pressure on the rupee. The external environment is not that favorable, so exports might have stopped falling. But how do we see an uptick in exports? So these are some of the unanswered questions. I think we all know that GDP growth is going to bounce back to 6% plus in fiscal 2014. But would it be enough, as far as the overall macro concerns are, situated?
Manish, but if the budget was such a dampener, why exactly, or to your mind, why have markets recovered? If I look at the Nifty level, currently we are sitting at a pre-budget high.
Yeah, but you look at the market in terms of the breakup of the components. On the one hand, you have stocks which have crashed anywhere between 20 to 50%. On the other hand, you have export-oriented sectors actually gaining strength. So it has kept balanced out. But bulk of the market, the core of the market is still somewhat shattered, and you have a lot of participants actually moving out of the market, particularly the retail and the HNI segment. So, yeah, the headline numbers don't seem to indicate the pain that is there in the market, but clearly, the core of the market is still down, and down substantially, I would think, than the pre-budget levels.
Right, Manish, that's a fair point, that market internals are looking slightly, disturbing. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get you trading ideas from Mitesh Thakkar. Welcome back. You're watching Trading Calls live on ET. Now it's almost 8:45. Let's go to Mitesh for his early morning trading ideas.
Today I've got mostly buy calls with one sell call. The buys are on Apollo Tyres, which managed to get past the earlier highs of 89.5, 90. So now can be bought with a stop below 89.5 for a target of around 99. Bata India is a buy with a short-term perspective. Keep a stop below 770. Look for targets of around 810. Crompton is a buy as well in the range of about 98.5 to about 98. Keep a stop below 95.75. Look for price targets of 105 on the upside. Hexaware, I think Sandeep also mentioned the stock. It's clearly given a breakout. Managed to absorb all the kind of bad news. Can be bought with a stop below 88 for a target of 94.5. And Coal India is the lone sell call with a stop at about 319.05. I would look to short it for price targets of around 300.
Dish, thank you for those trading ideas. Manish, the valuation gap between large cap IT and mid cap IT is at a historic high. Now that large cap IT stocks, have appreciated very smartly for this year, do you think it's a matter of time mid cap IT stocks will also catch up?
Yeah, certainly. I think the valuation gap is now widened significantly. So some of the movement in mid cap IT we have started seeing. I think that's going to continue for some time. But it all depends on individual stocks as to which have quality and which do not have quality. So some of the stocks that we have zeroed in down on are Tech Mahindra, impending merger with Mahindra Satyam, and given the growth profile of Mahindra Satyam, which is expected to be quite positive going forward, this is one stock which looks good. And you talked about Hexaware, so even that stock looks quite decently valued at current levels.
What could be the trigger really for Tech Mahindra or Mahindra Satyam? Because the concern for Tech Mahindra and Mahindra Satyam is that they are dependent on the telecom vertical, and their total business from BT in fact has come down.
Yeah, you're right. But if you look at Tech Mahindra on an overall basis, I think growth will be in the vicinity of 10 to 12%. But it is the growth in Mahindra Satyam, because we all know now that Mahindra Satyam is going to get merged with Tech Mahindra. It's only a matter of time. The merger ratio has been decided. So based on the merged entity valuations, and we know that there is complementary domain expertise in both Tech Mahindra and Mahindra Satyam, so they will be able to offer services on a full bouquet basis. So whether the growth in Mahindra Satyam is going to be north of 15%, if that be the case, then there is a case of P multiple expansion of the merged entity. That is the basic story in Tech Mahindra. And valuations are at around 10, 11 times currently. So if the growth in Mahindra Satyam happens, then there is a case of P multiple expansion from 10, 12 to let's say 13, 14, whatever HCL Tech and the likes are trading about. That will give the upside in the stock price in Tech Mahindra. I agree with you that, what telecom as a vertical is going to see flat spending. They are gaining some sort of market share. BT is almost degrowing. AT&T is flat, but they are making acquisitions to have that growth. They acquired KPN business. So, you require some more inorganic initiatives on the part of Tech Mahindra, and then that is the company strategy on Tech Mahindra's side. But on a full bouquet basis, I think Mahindra Satyam's growth is what needs to be factored in.
Manish, a small issue, but RCF and the OFS, do you think it's going to garner a good response with the floor price now set at 45 rupees per share?
I mean, these are all being available at throwaway prices. You don't have clarity on fertilizer issues, fertilizer investments in the country, but sooner or later these stocks will see appreciation in prices. At 45, 44 odd rupees, these are throwaway prices. Those who are long-term investors, there are no immediate triggers per se, but long-term investors like insurance companies, etc., would look deep value in them, provided they have horizons of 5-10 years, which most in the market would not have. So I think it is going to be a change of hands from the government of India to mostly the insurance companies who would be interested in buying these shares.
Ashwini, Tech Mahindra and Mahindra Satyam, both these stocks have appreciated by a good solid 80% in last 1 year. So after this big appreciation, Ashwini, do you think both these stocks have some more headroom to go?
Well, they haven't moved up in isolation. Stocks like Infosys have moved up 50%. So chances are that there is good sector tailwind, and it's possible that several stocks make new high. I think Tech Mahindra does that a significant 2-year high is at about 1158. So that's the next resistance on Tech Mahindra. Once that's taken out, if this tech rally continues, which I think it will, you have another 25-30% on the IT index. We could easily see, levels closer to 1400 on Tech Mahindra. Mahindra Satyam, I'm not too sure, because that is, kind of lower down the mid-cap ladder. I don't think mid-cap stocks or smaller tech stocks will do as well. But clearly Mahindra Satyam is also now crossing a multi-year high at about 127 whenever it does that. And that will open up another, $75 on the upside. So you could finally see the stock moving higher and closer to 190, 200. Because this tech rally has something special going on. It's not your usual, rupee week, so hence tech is going up. It's going up because of, new highs on global markets, Nasdaq making, multi-year highs. That is one reason, and this rally seems to have legs on it.
Okay, get to some more trading ideas on that note. And Vishal Kshatriya from Needlewise Securities, he's got a buy call on Yes Bank, recommends shorting Coal India though in trade. Sudarshan Sakhani, he's got a buy call on L&T, sell on IndusInd Bank, Raymond 2 is a sell call, Coal India is a sell, Tech Mahindra is a buy, Sun Pharma buy call as well.
Let's also say hello to Deepak Moni for his early morning trading ideas. Morning, Deepak.
Morning. It's 3 buys today. The first of these is Adani Port, stop loss of 143, target of 151. Bharat Forge, stop loss of 233, target of 247. And Jain Irrigation, stop loss of 64.5, target of 69. All are short-term trades. All the targets are roughly 4%, 5% from here. And if reached, they should be there within a week or so.
Deepak, appreciate your time and thank you for your trading ideas. Let's take a break. When we come back exactly at 9 o'clock, we'll get you the first pre-open rates, and at 9:10 we'll bring on board Nick Paulson. He represents Espirito Santo Securities. Welcome back. You're watching First Trades live on ET now. After a 3% appreciation in last 3 days, Nifty is all set to inch higher. Globally, strength is the name of the game. US markets have closed at another historic high or record high last night. SGX is not fully charged up, but for sure we have seen some degree of repair work in last 3 trading sessions. The key question is, once the big short covering adjustment is behind us, what is the next bet trigger? Since money is not backing this rally in the near term to make a case that Nifty will do something special based on the current market internals, I think will be very difficult. It's too naive to assume that the storm has come and gone for Indian markets. At least that's my assessment. What do we have on the screen? Flat rates, absolutely flat rates. 4 points are for Mahindra and Mahindra. Axis Bank is not going anywhere. Ambuja Cement is at 191. KN India West CLSA is still maintaining a price target of 425 rupees along with HDFC Bank. Coal India, we have got a consensus sell on Coal India this morning, and ICICI Bank along with IDFC, they both are trading flat. L&T has got a couple of upgrades in last 2 or 3 days, but IT is the moving part. So let's look at large cap IT stocks, the big ones: TCS, Infosys, Wipro. TCS 5090, Infosys free credit, and for Wipro The rates are absolutely flat at 447.
Okay, just want to mark a couple of other movers as well for you and show you what they're currently doing in trade. Yesterday turned out to be a good day for high beta trade. So be it a JP Associates, DLF, all these names look pretty good. Let's bring them up for you on your screens. DLF starts off marginally in the green, as is the case with JP Associates too. IDFC, Tata Motors, Ranbaxy, Ken were your other movers in trade. And well, quiet start you'd have to say, 58.46. What about the currency though? Manisha is here with a quick snapshot.
Thank you so much for that, Aisha. It's a third straight day of gains coming in for the Indian rupee after 0.25% rise yesterday, 0.1% on the higher side today as well. Rupee at this moment is trading at 1 week highs, and we have seen support coming in from the strength in equity markets in the later part of the day yesterday. The international markets, of course, are putting pressure though, where you have seen the dollar continue to trade on the higher side. Euro still is at around 3-month lows, so that is something that would cap too much of gains here. But then again, in the Indian markets, you have seen the FI inflows coming in because of the power grid bond issue. Also, there have been reports of the foreign banks selling dollars into the market as well, so all of that really supporting. We have spoken to IndusInd Bank today, and they are expecting a range between 54.30 to 55.15 on the higher side.
Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Ajay Sharma is also ready. Let's go to him to pick up all the dealing room chatter.
Good morning, Nikunj. Very divergent trends coming in the auto space, even if you speak with institutional guys on the street. So Maruti, for one, is a buy call coming in. Most of the dealers believe that the factor, the yen has actually slipped to a new low since August 2009 versus the USD, which is beneficial for Maruti, and Maruti is becoming a consensus buy not only among brokerages but the dealers, the traders as well. Of course, there are some new launches lined up next week. The new look Estilo will be in the sedan form, will be launched next week at the dealers. So that is one stock one would like to keep an eye on. Apart from that, from the trading based, from the delivery based buying, we are witnessing a lot of fund action in Tata Global. Yesterday was no different. We understand one large domestic mutual fund, which is backed by a private sector lending agency, has been buying delivery in the Tata Global. Watch out for that particular stock. After the recent correction, valuation became quite attractive. The last one is Bajaj Auto. On the other side, just contrary to Maruti, there is selling expected there. Short positions are being built in, and brokerages are also, most of them are coming out and calling it underperformed, like both Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. So there is a scope of 3 to 5% weakness according to dealers in Bajaj Auto.
Ajay, thank you for flagging of all the dealing room buzz. Manish Sonthalia, this question is coming your way. In general, what are your thoughts on mid-cap stocks? Do you think it will be a while before mid-cap stocks will be able to climb out of out of the hole?
It is going to be a totally stock-specific approach. You can't have a generic view on the mid-caps because, the movement on some of the stocks have been atrocious and some of the stocks have held out very, very well. So, it is going to be a totally bottoms-up approach. But I think focus should stay on earnings growth and the least amount of leverage, and that includes your pledged shares. If one is able to take care of that aspect, he takes care of a lot of problems that are there in the mid-caps today.
So why don't you give me a name?
No, I think we have not added anything special, but I think Tech Mahindra is something which we have liked, and this is one new stock which we have added in the portfolio.
Some names we discussed with you last time when you were on the show were Max India, Specialty Restaurants and City Union Bank. Are you still holding on to your positions there?
Yeah. I mean, Max is not there, but Specialty is still there. Emami is the new stock which we added. Pidilite is still there. City Union Bank continues to do well, quite positive on the stock. So most of the stocks are there in the portfolio. We have not really made any major changes in spite of the carnage, and our portfolio has held out very, very well in the last month's carnage.
What's the kind of price target do you have on names like a City Union as well as Emami, Manish?
No, I think easily the company will grow its profit by around 18 to 19% on an annualized basis for the next 4-5 years. So, if the company's profit doubles in 4.5 years, the stock price should double in the next 4.5 years. I think the interesting point in Emami is that around 30-35% of the sales come from chassis, and they have not really taken any major price increase in the last 3-4 years. So, because of coinage issues, etc. So, if and when they take that sort of a price increase in Emami, you could see the margins actually shooting up very, very sharply. And second is that menthol prices, because of low commodity prices, will aid EBITDA margin expansion to the extent of 150 basis points or thereabout. So all that is not reflected in the numbers. You could see, doubling of stock price if there is no P multiple expansion. But my feeling is that there could be a strong case for P multiple expansion as well, because in a down trading market, the categories in which Emami is there, will tend to see bigger volume growth. And multinationals will really not be present in those categories. So those 4 categories of Zandu, your Fair and Handsome, your Navratan and Boro Plus, these are the categories where multinationals will really not look to participate too much. So I think company is doing well on all these 4 categories.
But why is City Union Bank, Manish?
I mean, if you look at City Union Bank, the whole story revolves around the new banking amendment bill which has come, and these old private sector banks are setting targets because we know that new banking license would be only 4 to 5 licenses. So if the 26% cap now gives the old private sector bank promoters to actually raise their stake, and if they don't raise their stake, they are setting targets. You know that 5% stake is owned by L&T Finance and City Union Bank. Even if there is no merger and acquisition play, look at it on a standalone basis. Company has impeccable asset quality, almost nil net NPAs and gross NPAs less than 1%. Balance sheet grows at 25% plus. ROEs are 22-23%. Available 1.3, 1.4 times price to book. Very decent bank, and has a potential for whoever looks to aspire to take over this bank can have a pan-India presence, because we know that new banking license has an inherent value of $1 billion, roughly around 4,008 odd crores. So the whole bank is available to you today at less than 4,000 crores market cap or 3,500 crores market.
You have done your homework on City Union Bank and Emami. So for someone who has appetite to only buy one stock, whether it's Emami or City Union Bank, which is a better bet?
I'm confident in both of them. You can take your pick.
You're hedging your answer. I'm asking you a pointed question. Give me one stock.
Emami looks very promising to me.
Okay. The other stock which I want to discuss is DLF. Manish, I'll come to you for your fundamental take on DLF. But Ashwani, DLF 21% up. Yesterday also closed almost at the highest point of the day. Do you think in this month DLF could be a 300 rupee stock?
Well, it's a fairly volatile stock in this 255, 280 kind of range. Now, yes, it's been showing strength, but clearly we need to stay above 285 to show further strength. It's possible it gets to 300, but for that, real estate space has to do well. I mean, the way other real estate stocks have fallen does not inspire confidence in the sector overall. So we'll have to see. It's not a very high conviction trade. It may stay in this 250, 280 kind of band. I don't see, a high conviction in 300 coming in.
Well, some news on Suzlon Energy. They plan to raise money via the debt market route, and they're planning to float a 5-year bond, and the size of the issue could be about $650 million. So first it was Bharti, then ET Now yesterday reported it could be Tata Steel, and now Suzlon. So it is evident that Indian companies which are sitting on sizable debt, now they are using the overseas bond market route in order to retire their debt. Well, the cost of borrowing from Indian bank is about 10 to 11%. But companies or Indian companies are doing a very smart thing. They are raising money via the global route, and they are trying to refinance their existing debt, and that automatically will bring their total debt burden down, and the debt cost also will reduce dramatically. But the problem with Suzlon is that the business is under stress. So even if they are able to materially reduce their total debt burden, and even if they are able to refinance that debt burden at a lower cost, I don't think in the near term that will really nudge the needle for Suzlon as a stock. Manish, let's discuss the DLF now. You track that stock with a magnifying glass. Now the company has sold some non-core assets. They are planning to reduce their debt burden further by the IPP route. Is it safe to assume that in the near term DLF as a stock is looking like a good bet?
See, based on what the company is projecting and deliberating, and what they have been saying is that looking to sell 1 crore square feet every year, and the rental income going up from 1700 crores to 2700 crores, and their debt coming down from 21,000 odd crores to 11,000 crores by FY16, translates into a per share NAV of closer to around 300 rupees per share. But how much of all these things will get fructified will determine what the stock price of DLF would be. But given the situation right now and given the recent spate of launches in the real estate segment, all over the country, there has been a pickup in the residential part of the business on a pan-India basis. Gives us the hope that DLF can actually move closer to around 300 odd levels. Based on what the management has done recently to lower the debt in the books, selling off DLF property in Bombay to Lodhas or selling wind power assets, give us some confidence that they are on the right track. So markets are giving the benefit of doubt that whatever they have been saying will get executed. The environment has turned conducive, and the stock is at an all-time low, was at an all-time low, so valuations have now got corrected. So I think there could be another 10-12% upside on the stock, and closer to around 300 may be fully priced for the near term.
Manish, good to have you on the show. Appreciate you taking the time out and joining us on board today. Let's just quickly recap the trading ideas then coming in this morning from our experts. Ashwini Gujral, he's got a buy call on Sun Pharma this morning. HDFC Bank 2 is a stock that he likes. L&T as well is a buy call. United Phosphorus a buy. Havells a buy, and L&T Finance are all buy calls.